and welcome to my channel. If you're looking to complete your very first triathlon, you are at the right place. I'm about to share my own personal journey to my triathlon, so meaning my training, my race day, and also the tips that no one tells you, but you need to know them, because everyone is going to tell you like keep practicing transition and choose shoes with elastic laces, yet no one tells you like you got to unlace your shoes, for example, for your transition. Just a little backstory before. I am someone who is really sporty. I used to do a lot of sport when I was at uni, and once I finished uni, I continued on with like 10 hours per week of sport. I was someone really sporty, but after 3 years, I couldn't attend my uni sport classes anymore. So I decided to challenge myself and to do a little triathlon. I also talked about it in my unemployed but happy video. This helped me to have a challenge and have a goal in mind to still be happy, but that's a whole nother topic. Although I am someone who is really sporty, there is one thing I hate, which is running. I cannot run. I don't like running. I tried to listen to music, podcasts, you name it. I just find it really annoying. So if you also hate running, you are in the right place. So in February of 2024, I signed up for a sprint triathlon. 500 meters swim, 21 kilometers bike, and 5.8 kilometer run. The swimming was probably my favorite part. I trained in a 50-meter outside pool during the summer. It was really amazing because the sun was hitting. It was really great. I really liked it. I was really happy about my results. I was doing the 500 meters under 15 minutes, which for someone that is not used to swim so much is actually pretty okay. I mainly trained breaststroke and started to do freestyle. I was not used to do freestyle before, so that was completely new, and I was really happy to learn something. I also followed a training plan from my first triathlon book. It was great because I used to get so bored swimming when I was younger, and having a plan helped me not being bored. Because I think one mistake that a lot of people do when they first start swimming is go to the pool, do your 500 meters and then come back. Having that book helped me, although I didn't find that this book was really realistic. I trained a lot from February till August, because in August I had a breast surgery where I couldn't go into the swimming pool for about a month. It was just before my race, since it happened in late September, but it didn't really affect my overall self-esteem because I trained so much before. One thing that is really important is to know whether it's in open swim water or in swimming pool. Mine was in a lake, so open swim water, and I also trained in 2 lakes. I don't live nearby the race. I went into a lake and it was really cold. I had a really hard time being used to the cold. I bought myself a wetsuit, obviously, because I'm someone who gets cold really easily. Everyone knows that. What made a really big difference is the Wednesday before my race. I realized that I could go with my wetsuit on into the swimming pool. I don't know if it's really good for the neoprene, but when you're not used to swim with a wetsuit on and you're too cold to even do any movement, going into the pool will help you first being used to the wetsuit, and once you're in a lake, you are more comfortable with doing all the movements that you learn into the swimming pool. So that's something that I highly recommend. If you can go and adapt to your wetsuit somewhere where it's not as cold as in a lake, go for it. Now for the bike portion, I treated myself to a brand new 400 euros road bike. It was a really good decision. You cannot train with an e-bike. I thought I would be able to train with one and remove the batteries, and it will be heavier, so it will build my muscle more. But within 2 weeks, I said, no, it's way too heavy. Do not have a proper bike will be your first investment. You do not have to spend thousands. Mine was only 400, especially for a sprint. One thing that I regret is doing a 20-kilometer ride only. Where I live, it's really flat, and my race was really hilly. So it was really hard for me to train on a hilly part, and I was really stressed out the day before the race because I had no opportunities to train for that. And lastly, the run part. I think I mentioned it, but I hate running. So I didn't run up until a month before my race, and I really like walking and going out for a walk. So my heart is used to do 2 to 3 hours of effort, but running was really not something I trained for. Now that I did my first triathlon, I am looking forward for the next one, and I'm definitely looking forward to aim for more than 5 kilometers. That's another tip, is do not stick to, oh, this is gonna be a 5 kilometer run, so let's do 5 kilometers. Try to aim for more so that you are more comfortable during the 5K. About 2 months before my race, I actually did a fake triathlon, and I was really happy with the result. I did a 15-minute swim, an hour and 15 bike, and 15-minute run. So I was really comfortable again with my heart being able to handle that workout. 2 days before the race, I had the opportunity to go on site and see what it was like to be there. I'm so thankful I did, because I could train in the lake. And one thing that made me really afraid about the swim, even though I love swimming, is when I was in the lakes nearby my house, they were all murky and I could not open my eyes. Even though I had goggles on, I could not open my eyes doing my freestyle. I was way too afraid to look in the water and not being able to see my ends. And when I arrived on the site 2 days prior my race, I realized that the water was so clear, and that made me so relieved to be able to see my feet, and it was just like being in a pool. Obviously, I did not run the course or did the bike portion with the bike because you're not supposed to train 2 days prior like this, but I did the bike portion with my car. I could visualize and memorize this part is going to be difficult. I have 2 water bottles and I can easily finish one by the 10 kilometers because it's going to be difficult. There are so many hills and stuff. Seeing the roads helped me to mentally prepare for the race day. So on the race day, I arrived with a bunch of other triathletes. We were there an hour prior, so our race was at 9 p.m. and we were there at 8 p.m. I live like an hour and 15 away from there. We were up at 5:45, so it was really exhausting yet so exciting. Even though the organization was well done, they still delayed the races by 10 minutes because there were so many people having to check their bike at the same time. Again, I'm glad I went there 2 days prior because also the parking lot was 15 minutes away from the start of the race. So again, thankfully, as I came in 2 days prior, I was less stressed and more relaxed. So when it came to the swim, I was a little bit stressed before going into the water, especially that we saw the men's departure. I saw 2 men being rescued, which was quite frightening. So I was really stressed out, and once I went into the water, I was relaxed. I was doing my thing and, really enjoying the moment. It's not every day that you're in a lake and you have the sunrise over the lake. It was really beautiful. I was in the last few to depart because that's a big tip that everyone tells you, and I think that's really amazing because I didn't have to bump and splash others. I could talk to other people. I saw a girl who was so stressed out. She was saying like, I'm not going to be able to do it, and I was like, no, it's okay, we got plenty of time. I actually finished the swim portion by 14:55, which is not as good as I wish I had done, but it's still under 15 minutes, right? T1 involved a lot of running, way more than I expected. And one thing that I didn't think about, because I did not practice my transition actually, I just think about it. I'm someone who is really organized, so it's okay. Everything was in the right order. But one thing, I forgot to unlace my shoes. So I came in and I was like, oh, it's gonna be so difficult and I'm gonna waste my time unlacing 2 shoes. Actually, I did better than most of half of the other people, so it wasn't too bad. Now for the bike portion, that's where I was the most afraid of being cut off. It was really hilly, as I said, and as I couldn't really train on that, I was so afraid that I wouldn't make it in time. I challenged myself to never put a foot down, and I'm so proud because I did not, even though it was really hard. Looking back, as I said, I wish I had trained more on my bicycle because I was really slow. The average was 56 minutes and I was an hour and 10 minutes long. I also made sure that I was staying hydrated on my bike. I had 2 water bottles and I even had some food with me. I'm so glad I did because it kept me entertained a little. And once I finished the last big hill, I was really happy because I knew that I only had 10 more kilometers to go and it was going to be easier. I had a watch and it also really helped me to know at what time I was supposed to be where. Again, seeing the race 2 days prior really helped me on that. On the bike, I was okay. I'm not happy about how long it took me, but I really did my best and never put a foot down. And now for the run section. Well, I told myself, look, just run 3 kilometers and that's really nice. I started running, then I could take some water and I tried to drink water while running. I failed miserably, so I started walking. So I was a little bit disappointed in myself, and then that girl came right next to me and she told me, look, we're gonna do this together. We did all the run together. It was so nice of her, and actually I'm so thankful that she was there and she made me really want to come back next year and to be there with her. We walked and we ran together. It was really nice. My final time was 2 hours and 22 minutes, and guess what? I was the 222nd in my category. I mean, if that's not a sign, because for the whole weekend, like, I had seen angel numbers everywhere. Like, cutoff time was 2:30, so I'm under the cutoff time for each category. I'm so glad I finished it. Now let's talk about the tips I wish I had had before choosing my triathlon, training for the triathlon, and doing the race. First off, the distance. Make sure that if you choose a sprint one, it is a sprint one. I hate running and I love swimming. I wish the swim portion was 750 instead of being 500, and the run section was really 5 instead of 5.8. And it made me a little angry because I was like, well, it's supposed to be a sprint, you know? So make sure that you check the distance before actually signing up. Same goes for the elevation. As I said, the bike portion was really steep sometimes. Doing 21 kilometers on a flat road versus on a hilly one is not the same, and that really stressed me out. Look out for the cutoff time. Mine said for the swim you have to be there by 30 minutes. For the bike plus the swim it's an hour 45, and the total is 2 hours 30. But I've seen races saying that's 2 hours for the whole thing. I don't know how strict each race is. I know mine, it wasn't that strict. It was really first timers and family friendly. If I had been in another race, I wouldn't have made it. That's something you should definitely look for before. Obviously, the price. Not every race is the same. For example, Ironmans can be really pricey. You have to look for what is included in price. I had a nice beer. The organization was really nice. The roads were forbidden for cars, which made it safer once we were on the bike. So you might want to pay a little more just to be more comfortable, especially for your very first triathlon. The location. If you can do a triathlon next to your home, I would highly suggest it because you can train on the same road. You also know about the parking situation. And if the location is far from your house, try to go there either the week before or even long before so that you know what to expect. When I went there 2 days prior, I realized with my little brother that Google said it's an hour 15 to come, but actually it was more like an hour 45. Plus there was 15 minutes walk in between the parking. So in the end, with my partner, we decided to leave 45 minutes in advance of what we had both agreed on, which ended up being a really smart decision, because if we were there like 45 minutes late, we would have not made it, let's be honest. Obviously, one of my tips is unlace your shoes, practice your transitions so that you know what to do. Arrive early on the race day so that you can stay calm and you're not stressing out. That's a good one. The last tip is to stay calm and smile at the camera. No one told me, but there are photographers everywhere, and all of my pictures are really ugly because I was not smiling. I was just suffering, and it was awkward for me to smile at the camera. So those were my tips. Now let's talk about my gear. Triathlons are expensive. So let's check about what is essential versus what is not. First off, I highly suggest that you read the international triathlon rules. I did not know that you couldn't show off your stomach even in the transition portion. Some organizations will be stricter than others. Mine, again, really family friendly, first timer friendly. My boyfriend went into the water just with shorts, and one of the organizers told him like, okay, this is okay for this time, but next time make sure that you have a proper swimsuit. Also, for the race, I highly suggest that you have a watch just to know the time, the overall time. You don't need the latest Garmin, but having something to tell you, okay, you departed at that time, so you're 15 minutes in, etc. It can be relaxing to know how much time you have left before cutoff. For my triathlon, I chose to wear a workout set. I knew that it was going to be great for me. Looking back, I have no regrets, despite the fact that I am wishing to get a tree suit. But again, you're not supposed to show off your stomach, so some organization can give you penalties for that. I wore a t-shirt for my run section and also a small jacket over it on my bike portion. On my bike, I was actually doing it with my running shoes. You don't need those fancy bike shoes, especially for a sprint. For the swim part, I obviously had a wetsuit. I'm someone who gets really cold. It's not really mandatory, especially at the end of the summer where the lake is warmer. If you get cold really easily, I would highly suggest that you get one. One thing that I'm really proud of is DIYing my bib bell. As I said, you do not need fancy equipment, especially when you're starting out. I know it's only €7, but that's still €7 that you can save up. Here's how I did it. I took some elastic band and I made sure that it was attached like this. It's also sewed, so there's no way that it can pop off. And I put some pins in, and there you go. I have my bibs on, and I could turn it because my boyfriend just wanted to put some pins on his shirt, but realistically, he did not have the time for that. So very last minute, but he did the exact same for me. And look, I'm gonna wear it again. I don't need a fancy equipment to do a triathlon, and that's something I highly regret on Facebook groups where they say like, under that much you cannot find a bike. Let's be honest, you can find a bike, or you don't need a lot of fancy equipment. Even though I think investing in a bike and in a wetsuit are the first two things that you have to think of if you do not have the proper equipment before. So that was my video. If you enjoy my tips and my story, please give it a thumbs up. I hope this motivated you to do your training and for your triathlons, and I wish you a lot of luck for your next triathlon adventure.